We are going to create a Simulink model for step-up cycloconverter. This is the circuit for cycloconverter. We need one AC source, a load, and 8 thyristors arranged in this configuration. Let us go to Simulink, create a new model, and we are going to name this model as something relevant. Let us rename this cyclo underscore up. So we need an AC source, a load, and 8 thyristors. So we need AC source. For all our circuit based simulation, we are going to use all the elements that are available under Simscape library. So we are going to use AC voltage source. I'm adding this to our model. Apart from this, we require load. So we click add RLC branch to our model. Apart from this, we require thyristor. Remember, in cycloconverter's step-up operation, we require forced commutation. So either we can have thyristor and create separate circuit for forced commutation, or for simplicity we can use GTO in our model. So we are going to use GTO in our model. GTO is gate turn off thyristor. It turns off easily whenever a negative pulse is applied to this thyristor. So we have a source, we have load, for simplicity, as our prime aim is to understand the operation of the circuit, let us make this source only R type, and let's say it is of 10 ohms. We can change the parameter by selecting the element and double clicking on it. So we can change the parameters. A dialog box will open. In this we can change the type of load. We are keeping this as R type, resistive type, and we can change the value of various RLC parameters. So we are keeping resistance to be 10 ohms, and we can also adjust the parameters for AC voltage source. Let the peak amplitude voltage will be 220 and frequency be 50 Hz. Now we require 8 thyristor, 4 thyristors in P group, anode upwards, 4 thyristors in N group, anode downwards. Now we can rotate or realign this thyristor by selecting the GTO and pressing Ctrl R. Now this is aligned. Anode is, cathode is upside, so our P side, P group. Let us rename this to P1. We require 4 thyristors for P group. So what we can do, we can copy this thyristor to create more thyristors. Select by clicking on this thyristor, press Ctrl, click and drag. A copy will be created with automatically changing the number. We renamed the first thyristor to P1, and as soon as we made a copy by dragging it, it renamed it to P2. Now we can have P3, P4. We can stack up properly. Similarly, we can have N1, Let us rename this to N1, and N group thyristors face downwards. So align these thyristors by pressing Ctrl R. So this is N1. We can again drag this. So it is N2, N3 and N4. In the circuit, all the upper group thyristors are connected, all the lower group thyristors are connected, and then one end of the load is connected to the positive, this bus, and another, next group or the lower terminal to the negative. Now let us connect the source, positive, negative. We name this series RLC branch to load. So we have connected all the elements, AC source, load, and 8 thyristors. But we need some additional elements to operate this circuit. First of all, we require pulse generator circuits to provide gate pulses to these thyristors. So we go to Simulink library and add pulse generator to our model. So there is this pulse generator. We can recall that P1 and P2 thyristors are activated at once. Similarly, N1, N2 at once, P3, P4 at once, N3, N4 at once. So single pulse generator will feed P1 and P2. Another pulse generator will feed both N1 and N2. Another pulse generator is required for P3 and P4, and last one for N3 and N4. So in total we require 4 pulse generator. So this pulse generator, I am renaming this to pulse generator P1 and 2. So the output of this pulse generator, which will generate pulses, gate pulses to turn on the thyristor to P12. So the output will go to thyristor 1 and thyristor 2. Now we are creating another pulse generator for thyristors 3 and 4. So the output will go to pulse 3 thyristor 3 and also to thyristor 4. Another percent data is required for N1 and N2. So let us create this one N1 and 2. The output will go to thyristor N1 and N2. Another one is required for N3 and N4. It will go to N4 and N3. So then we required to measure the voltage across the source and load. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a multimeter for this. A multimeter is added. Now you can see there is this multimeter block, and this multimeter block is showing number 0. This means at this moment there is no measurement available to this multimeter. To measure the output of this voltage source and load, we have to actually turn on the measurement for these elements. So first of all, double click on load. You can see there is this option measurement, which is by default set to none. Change it to branch voltage and OK. Now the voltage across the load will be available for measurement. Do the same thing for source. Change the measurement to voltage and OK. Now click on multimeter. When you click on multimeter, you will see there were no available measurements initially, and now as it gets refreshed, we can see that two voltages or two signals are available for measurement. One is the source voltage and another is the load voltage. And at this point of time, I'm going to utilize both the measurements. So I'm clicking on one of the signal and adding to my multimeter. So I have added AC voltage source voltage to my multimeter. Similarly, add the voltage of load. After this, close this dialog box. Now you can see on multimeter the number has changed to 2. So the output of voltage source and load is available in this multimeter. Now I will be required to display the output of this multimeter graphically. So I'm going to add a block name scope. We go back to our model. Now the output of the multimeter will be shown on the scope. Scope is a display which gives you graphical display of the measurements. Click on the scope, double click on the scope. The scope will open, maximize it and click its settings button. We are going to make certain changes so that output is displayed in a very well manner. Now first of all, we go to this history tab and uncheck this option, which is limit data points to last 5000. This means when the simulation will be performed, data points will be generated, and according to those data, output will be displayed on this graph. If we don't know how many data points will be generated. If data points are generated more than 5000 in numbers, then only those data points will be displayed. 5000 data points will be displayed, rest of the data points will not be displayed. So as to avoid this thing, we just uncheck this option. Next we go to style. In this we can change the color and appearance of the graph. For better fidelity, I'm changing the figure color to grayish, also the axis color to gray, and markers lines to black, and apply this. You can see the graph will look like this. Now recall there were two signals in my multimeter, so two outputs or two inputs will be provided to scope for display. The first, since there are two outputs, we can change the display parameters for both the signals individually. The first signal in the multimeter was the source voltage. So in the scope, it will be line 1. So we can change the properties for line 1. What we are going to change is just we are going to change the thickness of the signal for better visualization and color. Similarly, we can change the graphical data information for output voltage, which will be line number 2 in our case. I'm changing the thickness and the color. Apply, close the dialog box by clicking on OK, and minimize this code. Apart from all this block, another block is required, which is named as Power GUI. We know for all circuit simulation in which the elements are sim power system elements, this Power GUI block is very important to run the simulation. Our circuit is now ready. So we have source, load, thyristors, pulse generator to provide gate pulses to these thyristors, multimeter to measure the source and load voltage, scope to display these measurements, and Power GUI to make the circuit work. But one thing is missing, and that is configuring these pulse generators, and that is the tricky part. We must first edit or change the parameters of these pulse generators to obtain output required. Now let us see the outputs of cycloconverter step-up operation. We can see this is the output of step-up cycloconverter when output frequency is twice the supply frequency. This is for 3 times the supply frequency, 4 times the supply frequency, and 6 times the supply frequency. If this is the total time, then one set of thyristor will be on for 1 by nth time. Okay, so what I'm trying to convey is that in stepper cycloconverter, output frequency is n times the supply frequency. Output frequency is n times the supply frequency. Therefore, the time period of the output, entire output, will be 1 by n times of supply signals time period of the supply. So for 50 Hertz supply, if the supply is of 50 Hertz, the total time period for the supply will be 0.02 seconds. So one cycle of input will be completed in 0.02 seconds. For step-up operation where output frequency n times the supply frequency, time period of one cycle of the output will be 1 by n times of the time period of one cycle of the supply. That means the frequency, that means the time period of one cycle of the output will be 0.02 divided by n seconds. Okay, output frequency is n times, output time is 1 by n times. The supply frequency is 50 Hertz, so the time period of supply is 0.02 seconds. Therefore, the time period of the output will be 0.02 by n seconds. This is one condition. So let us go back to our model, double click on the pulse generator, a dialog box will be opened. First is pulse type, it should be time based, and time will be simulation time. Amplitude is not going to make a big difference. Period is the period for which this thyristor will be activated, which we have just calculated should be 0.02 divided by n. For our first example, let us try to obtain an output which is 2 times the supply frequency. So n will be equal to 2. So we are going to set the period as 0.02 divided by 2. Pulse width should be 50%, because in this 0.02 divided by 2 seconds, within that amount of time, half of the time p group thyristors will be open and half of the time n group thyristors will be on. So the pulse width should be 50%. Phase delay, there should be no phase delay for thyristors P1 and P2. Let us go back to our output again. In the positive half cycle, after P1 and P2, N1 and N2 must be on. You can see after P1 and P2, N1 and N2 must be on. P1 and P2, N1 and N2 must be on. Therefore, next we set up the parameters for pulse generator of N1 and N2. So we keep the parameters side by side. This is the parameters for N1 and N2, and this is the parameters for P1 and P2. So period will be same, 0.02 divided by 2. Pulse width again 50, because these set of thyristors P1, P2, N1 and N2 will work in tandem. For half of the time P1, P2 will be activated. For next half of the time N1 and N2 should be activated. The only difference is in the parameters for these two set of thyristors pulse generators. The phase delay should be 0 for thyristor P1 and 2, and it should be half, because it should start after half of the time. So it should start after 0.02 divided by 2, which is the total time period of the signal, divided by 2. So what we are seeing, that n group thyristors will have a delay of half the time, right? So total time period is 0.02 divided by 2. It should be divided by 2. So we are using brackets so that it makes sense. So 0.02 divided by 2 is the total time, and it should have a delay of 2. We set this. We do this the same thing for pulse generators 3 and 4. So the period is 0.02 divided by 2, pulse width as 50. Now there should no be any phase delay for P3 and P4, as when negative pulse applies, P3 and P4 comes first. Okay, so P3 and P4, N3 and N4, period is 0.02 divided by 2, pulse width 50, and phase delay is 0.02 divided by 2. This is the total time period, half of this time period, so again divide by 2. Now every parameter has been set. We'll run this simulation. We'll run this simulation for only one cycle of the supply, which is for 0.02 seconds. Now let us run our model. It is compiling. It has been simulated. Now let us double click on the scope to check the output. As we can see, we are getting this blue line was the input, which is one cycle of the output, and this red is the output, which is one cycle and two cycles. So we have obtained output for the cycle converter. Let us try to change it for output frequency 3 times the supply frequency. So what we have to change? We have to change the parameters to 0.02 divided by 3. Again 0.02 divided by 3. For N3 and N4, 0.02 divided by 3. So we just changed the time period, but we did not change the phase delay. We must also change the phase delay. For P3, P4, it is now for N3 and 4, the phase delay was 0.02 divided by 3 divided by 2, and similarly for N1 and N2. Let us run this for 0.02 seconds. Double click on the, we can use this button to have all the output within this window. Now we can see in red the output, which is one cycle, two cycle and three cycle, and in blue the output. Sorry, in blue color we have the input, and in red color we have output. So we can see the output is properly obtained. But in this model we want to make a change, because whenever we want to obtain output for different number values of n, that is, if we want to obtain output for 2 times the supply frequency, 3 times the supply frequency, 4 times the supply frequency, we have to change parameters of each pulse generator every time. So what we can do, we can create a subsystem of these 4 pulse generator. So first step is to keep all the pulse generator close to each other. Just drag it. This is the pulse generator and this is the pulse generator again. So all the pulse generator are near each other. Now what we can do, select and drag and select all the pulse generator, right click on it and click on create subsystem from selection. Okay, so as you can see, all the pulse generator are now inside a subsystem. We rename this subsystem to be pulse. Let us go inside this block. So there are these 4 pulse generator available. We rename the output to be something meaningful. because in this model out 1, out 2, out 3 and out 4 have no meaning to us. What we can do, we can rename these out as per the name of these blocks. So let the name of this output will be N3 N4, which cannot be done because the block name is also N3 N4. So we can give this as, let's say, GN34. Similarly, GP12, G means gate for the thyristors N3, gate pulse for the thyristors N3 N4, gate pulse for the thyristors P12. Also rename this to GP34 and this to GN12. And if click on this, we can also change the port number according to our requirement. Since so we can enlarge this pulse generator. Now we have the output as GN12, GP3 on. We can change the sequence, but this is not such required. Now what we are going to change is, we are going to change the parameter, and every time we have to edit this parameter, this n. So we keep this generic. Instead of writing 2, 3, 4, we keep n. We make this n. Let us do the same thing for all the blocks. This will become n. Now let us go back to our model. Select this subsystem, right click on it and choose option create mask under mask. Now this dialog box will open. Now there is one parameter which we want to change. We can go to this tab parameters and add a parameter. In this parameter we can directly ask the user to enter the value of n, and this will automatically update the values of all the pulse generator. So what we are going to use, we are going to use a variable n, and it is simply edit type of box, and the prompt will be, we can write fo is equal to n times fs, enter n, and now we apply. Now every time we double click on this subsystem, this dialog box will open with message that if not output frequency is n times the frequency, what you want to set the value of n, enter n. So let us try this once again. Let the output frequency that we want to obtain is 4 times the supply frequency. So we enter 4 and we run this simulation. Simulation is running. The simulation is complete. Now we can check the scope. We can check the output. So the output is, it is 1, 2, 3, 4 and okay, this is 4 cycle. the output is being distorted for initial cycle. So what we can do, we can simulate this for more time, let's say for 0.08 4 cycles, and see if this disturbance is just for initial cycle or we have certain problem in our model. Let us run this for 0.08 seconds. The simulation is running, simulation is complete. Now we click on the scope and we click on this button. We can see there is a little bit of problem in our output. So we have to check the parameters inside. Now we cannot go inside the subsystem by double clicking it, so we have to select it, right click, and within this mask we have to choose the option look under the mask. So we'll go into this block. So we must check the parameters. Okay, this is n, this is n. Okay, this is n, no problem, n, no problem, here n. Okay, so this was the problem, it should be set to n and this was half 2. So it is okay, we have updated our model. Now let us try to run this simulation. Simulation is completed. Let us check the output. Now our output is somewhat okay. So we can see the output is 4 times the supply frequency. So for proper visualization, let us run this for 1 cycle of input only. Let us rerun this simulation. Check the output in the scope. Okay, so this is 1 cycle, 2 cycle, 3 cycle and 4 cycle. So our output has been obtained. Let us try to rerun this simulation for some other value of n. Let's say 6 times. Rerun this simulation. And we click on the scope. Now we check the output. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So we have obtained the output 6 times the supply frequency. So this is the simulation of IQ converter for step-up operation. If you have learned something, you can try to build this model in your Simulink. You can try this, and if you have any queries, you can post it on the comment section. And if you want to see simulation for some other circuits, you can also put that in comment section. So that's all for today. Thank you.